Being sober from weed for the past 15 months, all of the reasons why I quit have been validated. But if I'm being honest, I still miss getting smacked to this day. My favorite part of my day used to be getting high. Just barging through the door, throwing on some pajamas, rolling up a fatty doink, and then sitting on the back porch getting geeked up. With the smoking ritual I had in place, it's like, how could there ever be a bad day? I started smoking weed at 17 and I quickly grew attached to how easy it was to forget what was bothering me. And without even realizing it, doing that every single day, I fell for the trap of being comfortable. After 3+ years of smoking, I realized that weed isn't something that is necessarily going to ruin your life. It's not like you're sipping lean or popping pills, but it definitely made me feel okay wasting it. I remember in my freshman year, we had some DARE assembly where a bunch of former junkies come in to tell their experiences with substance abuse. And one guy in particular sticks out in my mind. It was the one who talked about his weed addiction. This dude is up on stage talking to the school about his weed addiction and how it affected him. And the whole time he's doing so, people are whispering and making fun of him and laughing at him, including me. All I could think to myself was, bro, you have these people who are severely addicted to opioids and benzos, and your ass is up here talking about some flower? Like, seriously, how could you be addicted to weed that badly? But boy, was I fucking wrong. Little did I know that guy on stage talking about his weed addiction is who I would end up being. Here I am now, talking about my weed addiction on the internet. I am that exact dude. The one thing that he said that I remember clearly was the reason I stopped smoking weed was because it made me lazy. I became okay with doing nothing, and that's not acceptable. This guy's story never really stuck with me until years later when I went through that exact experience myself. I never thought I would end up relating to that dude. I grew up around weed my whole entire life due to family, and I hated it. I did not want to become a product of my environment. But come the age of 16, I was looking for an escape. Around that time, I was hospitalized for a month due to health issues, which caused all types of problems in and of itself. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and for those who don't know what that is, I basically had no control over my bowels and was going through the trenches in the hospital trying to figure out what was wrong with me. All because I literally couldn't keep my shit together, no pun intended. Everything I had going on in my life was put to a halt because of this. On top of that, I was going through a very toxic, no good, very bad relationship. Being young and honestly just a brain dead dumbass, I thought this terrible teenage relationship was my whole entire world. I was spiraling over a relationship I knew wasn't the one. And to put icing on the cake, 1 month after being let out of the hospital and going through terrible relationship issues, we went on lockdown for COVID, March of 2020. And to be honest, what a perfect time to start experimenting, being locked in the crib all day. With all that uncertainty with my health, my relationship, and honestly the world with how COVID was doing numbers on all of us, it all snowballed into me just saying, fuck it. I didn't care anymore, and weed provided that much needed escape. It gave me this sense of control over my emotions when everything around me was out of my control. Now, it didn't start off as everyday use. I would go out with the bros in nature and shit, and just take a couple eddies from time to time. There were these edibles, I think they were called cocoa nugs. They looked like actual weed nuggets, but it was really just a piece of chocolate. And we would go out in nature and just hike on trails and just be geeked. But very quickly, it all turned into daily use. And at first, I loved it. I had huge rose tinted glasses. It was like the honeymoon phase of a relationship. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was able to slow my brain down. I was able to finally breathe. All the social anxiety, stress about my health, my relationship, and the world would disappear every time I smoked. And within that time of me forgetting my problems, everything around me became so much more fun as well. Weed made it to where being bored wasn't an option. I would be chilling with the gang, watching old black and white cartoons like Betty Boop, having the time of my life. And not to throw shade on Betty Boop, but what the fuck was so fun about watching that? There's literally nothing entertaining about that, but when you're smacked, it becomes entertaining. But it also boosted my confidence as well. Because I wasn't worried about anything, it helped me develop this fuck it mentality and it boosted my confidence like crazy. I didn't care what anyone thought. I turned into a completely different person. I went from being this quiet, depressed little dude to feeling 100% confident in my own skin, being very outgoing, and not afraid of people's thoughts or opinions. But it wasn't real confidence because when I finally ended up getting sober, that old, insecure version of me reappeared. And looking back on it all now, all the things I viewed as positives stemmed from the fact that I always had something to fall back on no matter what was going on. And the way I used to justify myself was by smoking at the end of the day. As long as I handled all of my responsibilities, I didn't see it as a problem. It was something I was looking forward to on a daily basis. I had a bad day, get smacked. I had a good day, get smacked. If I was bored, get smacked. I was doing everything I needed to, taking care of business, and at the end of the night, I had my escape. And nothing seemed wrong with what I was doing. I was still functioning, hanging out with friends, taking care of responsibilities. So in my head, I convinced myself that I had everything under control. But over time, smoking wasn't making life feel better anymore. It turned into, I need this to get me through my day. That's when I started to fall into the comfortability. My daily use got way worse. Once I graduated high school, I knew I didn't want to go to college. I took a gap year between graduating high school and getting a full-time job. And during that time, I was the biggest fucking chud. I had so much free time on my hands, and after developing the habit of fulfilling boredom with getting smacked, it led to me getting so comfortable with doing nothing. My immediate thought for the day became waking and baking. I would preemptively roll a spliff the night before, so all I had to do was drag my ass out of bed and walk to the back stoop. After I smoke, I would just walk up to my mom and ask for a bacon, egg, and cheese. Just to spend the whole day rotting online, playing video games, and being stony baloney all day. And because I was stoned 24/7, damn near on the verge of psychosis, I got so used to life smacked that nothing would interest me when I was sober. Boredom became intolerable. I realized weed completely rewired how I experienced everything in life. Anytime I was sober, I would fixate on the thought of, man, this would be way better if I was geeked up. Even trying to learn new things, if I wanted to learn something new and try and stay interested in it, I had to be high. But that's kind of ironic because if you're geeked all the time, you're not going to remember shit about what you actually learned. During this time, I was getting no money, I wasn't experiencing life at all, and I was so okay with doing nothing. I don't know how my girlfriend at the time didn't dump my ass for being such a chud. Before I knew it, I wasted a year of my life that I could not get back, and I had nothing to show for the gap year that I took after graduating. The thing that fucked me up was realizing I had become the person I said I wouldn't become. I used to judge people who had this problem in the past, just like the dare guy from high school. And now I couldn't even get through the day without getting high. I finally had to admit to myself what I was doing was actually a problem. But I was in such denial with my situation. I created a brain that was looking for constant comfortability, and there's no growth in comfortability. Like, let's be for real here. Weed is not a sociable drug. If I'm getting geeked, the last thing I want to do is leave the crib and go try something new. Why leave the crib when I have everything I need right here? I could be all cozied up with some video games, some munchies, and talking to the bros. And that's the problem I had. I was stunting my growth by locking myself in a shell of complacency. You don't learn lessons during comfortable times. You learn about yourself and life by putting yourself out there and forcing yourself to go through difficult situations. How am I supposed to become a better person from sitting in my room all day talking to the devil? After that realization, smoking was not hitting anymore. That feeling of pleasure and joy became guilt every single time. But even then, I still couldn't stop. Every time I smoked, I was constantly asking myself, why am I doing this? It's not even fun anymore. I know it's hurting my growth in life, so why do I keep coming back? And one day I finally snapped. The day before I snapped, I had just bought my weekly half an ounce of flour and I couldn't take it anymore. I vowed that once this pack was gone, I am not buying anymore. I am done. And because I knew I would change my mind if I dragged out finishing that half, I ended up smoking the entire thing that night. One, to not prolong me quitting and change my mind about the whole thing. And two, I couldn't just waste $100 like that. Like, that's fresh product to be used, so I'm gonna use it. For the last time, I got belligerently smacked. I went on that back porch, rolled up like 4 or 5 spliffs, and went nonverbal from smoking so much in one sitting. I sat there for hours, completely isolated and stuck with the thought that this is it. This is where my life is going to change. And that next day, the process began. I feel like this is so overlooked because of the it's just weed bro mentality, but the mental gymnastics you go through upon withdrawals sucks. Any downtime I had could no longer be filled with smoking. So I would just be in my bed, staring at the ceiling, constantly thinking about relapsing. I would be having mental breakdowns, damn near going insane in my bedroom. I had to force myself to literally do anything to keep my brain occupied and not let there be the opportunity of a relapse. I got back into sports, playing and watching them. I started working out, going for walks. Dude, I said this in my last video. I would beg my parents to do housework. Like, do y'all need help with anything? Dishes, grocery shopping, cleaning. My dad would be outside doing yard work, and I would beg him to let me do it, all so I could keep my mind off of it. It took months for this feeling to go away, and I would be lying to you if I said it was totally gone. The worst physical withdrawal was sleep. My nightly ritual was to smoke before bed, get all sleepy from the za, brush my teeth, and get all cozy in my bed and knock. Now that sleep aid was taken away from me, I was restless. The first 3 nights, I slept like less than 3 hours each time. I was just up, which made it harder because in the middle of the night, you're trying to go to sleep. There's not much to do to occupy your mind at that time of night, so the thought loops of relapsing come back to haunt you. It took me weeks to try and be able to sleep normally again. But now that I'm able to get this deep REM sleep and actually have dreams, I don't have this fog over my brain when I wake up anymore. Going through the withdrawal period is hard for many reasons with anything, but if you can get through that one first day sober, you can do that again every day for the rest of your life. We took away so much focus from all aspects of my life. And I want to make it clear, I don't think weed is an evil thing. If you smoke from time to time, it's not clipped for you. But for me, I couldn't control it. I would be high all the time. And after being sober for the past year plus, it put so many things into perspective. Life high versus sober. While yes, a life that is sober is much harder, there is no true answer to this life shit. There are highs and lows, peaks and valleys. And if you're numbing those lows that life puts you through, you are simultaneously numbing the highs too. You cannot have one without the other. Being sober forced me to start sitting with my emotions instead of forgetting they existed. One thing I can actually enjoy now is boredom. That may sound weird, but it's okay to be bored. Having that quiet time is what pushes the brain to just think. You don't have external factors interrupting your free flow of thought. You're bound to be more creative when you're bored. And if it wasn't for boredom, I would not have made this YouTube channel and be talking with you all right now. If I stayed complacent with my past life of getting high, I wouldn't have found who I am now. And to this day, it's still worth it. I'm finally in control of my brain instead of my brain controlling me. The mental freedom of no longer being fixated on my next smoke session is such a weight lifted off of my shoulders. When you're fixated on when that next smoke session is going to be, that is not being in the present moment. I always thought weed made me appreciate the present moment and what I had around me, and it kind of does when you're smacked. But when I wasn't smacked, all I could think about was how do I hold myself over until that next smoking session. If you're constantly worried about the future, that is the complete opposite of being present. But I still think about it though. I get the biggest smile on my face just from the thought of rolling up a gorilla finger and smoking. But I now understand why I was doing it, and that alone is a reminder as to why I can't go back. It was all used for the wrong reasons. It was an escape to comfortability. Look, everyone has their own reasons as to why they do what they do. Like, I'm not here to lecture you on why you should quit weed. I'm not your fucking mom. Do I recommend you do quit weed? Yes, but you shouldn't have to justify yourself. Big bro, if you have to justify yourself to people on the internet as to why you do something, you should probably start your journey of self reflection. There are niche cases where weed can help people, but a majority of people's realities, it is not that. It is misused and abused. And I hope me talking about my experience helps you reflect on yourself as to why you are doing what you're doing. If you are someone who is considering quitting, here are some of the things I did that helped me cope. One, pause on this, was the oral fixation. Obviously, when you're smoking, the oral fixation is part of the addiction. So simply replacing that with something like chewing gum or sunflower seeds or a toothpick makes the process a lot easier. The second thing I did, I mentioned it earlier, is just do literally anything to occupy your time. Clean your fucking house, learn a new hobby, go for walks, hang out with people. Like, just do something to where you're not isolated in your room thinking about it. This is the time where you should be finding a new addiction and not a substance, something that is beneficial to you and gives back to you. And the last thing, this one's probably obvious to most of you, just don't surround yourself with it. If you know you're someone who gives in to temptations easily, you should not be surrounding yourself with it at all. For me, it was pretty fucking hard to do that because my whole entire family smokes bud. So sitting in my room going nuts about relapsing, meanwhile my parents are downstairs getting smacked, not making the situation any better for me. If I could go back and talk to myself in that dare assembly, I would simply reiterate, it's not just weed. This guy was right, and I related to him very heavily a few years later. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you. Be sure to like and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.